What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here, back with some more exploration of the 2nd edition Cairn backgrounds. So, we're looking at today the Fieldwarden. So, I've made 3 characters. You probably can't see the name of the one on the right because I'm blocking the view. But we've got Harrow, Cobb, and Thresh. So, I had a lot of fun making this one. I've actually made this one a while ago, and I just never got around to recording it because I was messing around with my computer. So what is the Fieldwarden? So keep in mind, these are just backgrounds. These are just how your character starts. They're not like classes that define everything your character is going to be able to do. Again, Cairn is still a classless system. It's determined by like what items and stuff you have, as opposed to, you know, what class and abilities you have, which is cool. So the Fieldwarden. What is the Fieldwarden? Protectors of the harvest, defense against pests, thieves, and beasts. A position of great honor while it lasts. Many guardians do not live out their natural lives. Okay. So there's one interesting feature immediately, is that if you have this background, you get to roll a second time on the bonds table. I almost missed that detail when I was making the characters, so that was pretty fun. So starting gear, you get the standard items. You get 3d6 gold. You get rations for 3 uses, and then you get a torch that has 3 uses. So what do they start with? They start with brigandine armor. So you got 1 armor, and it's bulky, so it takes up 2 slots. You get a sling, so you have a ranged weapon, does 1d6 damage. And you also have a hand axe, which does a melee weapon, does 1d6 damage. And you also get a repellent, and it says state the creature. Now, I'm kind of waiting for to get my hands on like the bestiary and the warden's guide and stuff to kind of see what creatures we got. So you can, my choices were pretty lame for this. So I don't know like what beasts and stuff are going to be included in the setting of Vald yet. So I'm super excited about that. So let's take a look. So you can see it has a few of the names at the bottom left, and I just picked 3 from those. And yeah, let's get into our first character, who I believe I named him Harrow. So you can see he's got like this fancy stick. He's got a sling. He's looking snazzy. He's bald, but he's got these glorious mutton chops. And yeah. Oh, looks like one of my games finished downloading. So when you are making your character, and every background I've done so far has 2 tables, and they're all unique to the background. So the first table, it asks you what got the better of you. So for this one, I just chose number 1, a voracious swarm of pests that swallowed crops and animals alike. With nothing to defend, you left. Take Gale Seed Extract, which has 3 uses. Ingesting 1 lets you sprint with a speed 4 times your regular rate. Afterward, add 2 fatigue. So basically, this gives you like an item that makes you just sprint crazy fast. So obviously there's going to be a lot of interesting uses that you could do. Just being able to have that handy, like if you need to get away, or if you need to, you know, get somewhere quickly, you can pop that. And as with standard Cairn stuff, it's not really defined how long it lasts. You know, it just says afterward you add 2 fatigue. So again, it's up to the warden to decide that, following that rulings not rules mantra that I love so much about Cairn. And it also gives you a kind of a cool background story beat, that the reason why you're not a Fieldwarden anymore necessarily is because the crops and stuff and the farms or whatever you were supposed to be guarding got taken out by a swarm of pests. So kind of hard to guard when there's nothing left, right? So interesting. That gives you a nice, easy, open-ended story hook, so you can sort of build your character and make this fantasy that you want to make, which I like. That's one thing I've loved about these backgrounds so far as I go through these, is that, you know, it gives you this cool, like, really what's the word? It's not poignant, is it? Like prominent, or I can't think of the word. It gives you like this story hook that it has a sense of urgency, or it has some meaning behind it, but it's not well defined. So it gives you the room to flesh that out later, which I really like. So for the second table, it asks, what tool saved your life? So for Harrow here, I chose the Sunstick. Provides ample warmth and light for up to 1 hour. One use. To recharge it, you have to leave it in heavy sunlight for a full day. So I thought this was an interesting one, because with Cairn 2nd edition, one of the big features of it is it has a bunch of like procedures, and one of those procedures is like dungeon delving, right? And lights, having a light source plays a big factor. I like to think of it as like that game Darkest Dungeon, where like if your light goes low, then your whole team starts like, you know, getting panic and start getting a bunch of mental debuffs. It's obviously not the same in Cairn, but I mean, maybe if your warden likes it, you can make it work that way. So who knows? But just having a backup light source could be awesome. And if I was a warden and I was in a party, like, you know, they were going through their dungeon procedures and maybe their light sources kept getting snuffed out, I would make it so this one can't be snuffed out for an hour. It only lasts an hour. And to recharge it, you got to leave it in heavy sunlight for a full day. So that might be advantageous during the summer, but, you know, what happens in fall and winter where there is no heavy sunlight? So this might be a seasonal stick, right? So I don't think it's too overpowered the way it is, and since the player has it, I want to make it feel useful, because if you didn't have it that way, I think it would feel a bit lackluster, to be honest. But having that backup light source, I felt was a good thing to have, so why not? So now, with the special thing about the Fieldwarden, you get to roll twice on the bonds table. I think for this one, I actually just rolled this time. For the other ones I've done, I think I just picked the bonds that I wanted, that kind of suited whatever story or narrative or, you know, concept I was making for that character. But this time, I just rolled it. So the first one I rolled was 8. You receive a letter, which is petty, which means it doesn't take up normal inventory space, detailing incontrovertible proof that you and your true parentage is that of Fey nobility. The note also indicates a date and location where you are to meet them, deep in the woods. So I'm pretty sure I've covered this this bond before. I mean, obviously, we've got 20 bonds to roll from in the player's guide. I think that the warden's guide is going to, if it doesn't have more, it's going to give you kind of ideas on how to make more. But so since I'm doing like 3 characters for every background, and there's 20 backgrounds, that means that when I'm done with this series, I'm going to have made 60 characters. I'm going to end up reusing some of the bonds. So no big deal there. But the nice thing about these bonds is that they are, again, story hooks that aren't really necessarily well defined, and they give you, it's kind of like a coloring book. Like, you know, there's some lines in there and you can color them however you want, and then you could just take it and transform it from there. So I think that's really cool. The second one that I rolled was number 18, and this one is, an entertainer once visited your home, filling it with story and song. He left one day without a word, leaving behind only a miniature lute. Something rattles inside. Again, that's a compelling story hook. Like, now as the player, you have that choice of, like, you know, do I want to break it apart to see what rattles inside? Is it, or do I cherish this from my earlier time? It doesn't necessarily say it's like in your childhood. It could be like yesterday. Who knows? It just says an entertainer once visited your home. Doesn't say when that was. But maybe you cherish this as you know, maybe as being a field warden, music wasn't necessarily a thing that you encountered very often. So to you, it might just be something akin to magic, and you might cherish that miniature lute as a keepsake of memories of better times or whatnot. So maybe you don't want to break whatever it is to get whatever rattles inside, or maybe you spend some time trying to like jiggle it and see if it comes out. Or maybe you do break it. Just find what rattles inside. Maybe it's just like some cheap coin, or maybe it's a priceless jewel, or maybe it's something else far more magical or far more sinister. That's for up to you and the warden to figure out. So I thought that these give you really cool, just again, story hooks to really give your character meaning and purpose, and make it, and to me, I think it makes it a lot easier to role play those characters too. So let's take a look at Harrow's character sheet. So you can see here, his name, Harrow, background, Fieldwarden. So let's just jump into his stats here real quick. So, actually, no, let's go traits. So bottom left, traits. He's got a rugged physique, oily skin, he's bald, he's got a broken face, gravelly voice, filthy clothing. His virtue is that he's humble, and then his vice is that he's nervous. So, how I envisioned Harrow is based on his, his first table he rolled on, to where what got the better of you. Since everything was like kind of wiped out, and he felt powerless about it. That was kind of a humbling experience for him. And also, he's a bit nervous. And, I think I also randomized these as well. So I think this time around I went and I randomized traits. So that was pretty cool. And I was pretty happy with what I got. He's got a gravelly voice, his broken face, he's bald, oily skin, he's got that rugged physique. So I feel like that's somebody who's like an outdoorsman, who's just, stuff got the better of him, right? Let's talk about his stats. So I rolled decent for his stats. So he's got 12 strength, which is above average. He's got 11 dexterity, above average. And then he's got 13 willpower, above average. But I kind of rolled a little low for his hit protection. So that just means the first time he gets a scar, he'll probably be more likely to actually get higher hit protection later on. So I don't know. But anyway, I thought these were good starting stats for him. I figured... I think I manually assigned these, so I rolled them obviously, and then I just put them where I wanted them to go. And I think for willpower, the reason why I decided to put willpower for his max was for I think a variety of things. So his bonds, also his tables about like what happened to him, and just being able to keep going after just being utterly decimated by whatever took out all those crops and stuff, and just being utterly helpless. It takes will to be able to continue going forward. So I kind of went with that for his stats. So you can see he's got 11 gold, and he's got 1 armor because he's got that brigandine. Let's take a look at his inventory. He's got the standard stuff: 3 rations, 3 torches. He's got the brigandine. It's bulky. He has his sling, has his hand axe, the standard stuff you get. He for his repellent, I decided he wanted to have an insect repellent. So he's like, maybe next time these insects show up, I can spray them or something, right? He's got that gale seed extract. He's also got that Sunstick, but he's also got that miniature loot. So Harrow is automatically full inventory, which means that technically his hit protection is currently 0. So he would probably have to offload something else to his party, or maybe he would get rid of one of his items. Maybe he might throw out his torches and keep his Sunstick. Maybe he might throw away his miniature loot, because I don't think the miniature loot was it wasn't petty. So he's got it in his inventory. And just in the notes section, which I might be blocking, but it just says, my gale seed extract allows me to sprint 4 times as fast. However, I take 2 fatigue after. I have a Sunstick that provides warmth and light for an hour. To recharge it, I have to leave it out in the sun for a full day. And I have a letter that proves I'm of Fey nobility, and it has a date and location of where to meet them in the woods. And finally, an entertainer left me a miniature loot. Something rattles inside. So there you go. There's a nice character that's got plenty of different story hooks. You start out with a decent array of gear. I mean, you've got as much as you can physically carry. And you got decent stats. Hit protection might be a little low, but again, hit protection's temporary. And in Cairn, you typically want to avoid combat or at least stack the deck as much in your favor before you initiate combat, because it's very deadly. So I thought Harrow was a pretty good one, and you know I kind of like the theme of the Fieldwarden. So there you go. That's Harrow. Not too bad. Pretty plain, safe character, right? Nothing too crazy, nothing really exotic about it, but it's just a good, balanced starting character. And I think that's kind of what the Fieldwarden background is all around. It just gives you a good starting base, which is kind of cool. So let's talk about the next guy that I made. His name's Cobb. So Cobb is a pretty cool guy. I think he just has he's got this fancy crown or wreath, and we'll see what that does in a second. So for Cobb, when it asks what got the better of you, I chose option 4. Or did I roll it? I don't remember. I think I rolled them. I'm pretty sure I rolled them. I don't remember. I made these characters like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Whoops. So the Withering, a type of stem rot from the roots. So what got the better of you? The Withering, a type of stem rot from the roots. Take a diseased crop that has 6 uses that decays any plant it touches. I was like, okay, that seems pretty metal. Gives you a good story hook too. Now for the second table, what tool saved your life? Number 6, a circlet adorned with flowers that will never wilt. The Everbloom band. On taking critical damage, the flowers dissolve into dust, but you act as if your save succeeded, but the strength loss still occurs. So immediately I had this irony. So I have this Withering, or this disease cropped, decays any plant it touches, an Everbloom band, a circlet adorned with flowers that never wilt. So what's going to happen here? It's like the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. What's going to happen? Right? I don't know. That might be a kind of a fun paradox for a warden to figure out. But if I was the player, I'd be trying to keep that damn diseased crop away from my Everbloom band, just in case it dissolves that, because that would not be fun. But this, I figured this could be cool, because you know, things might happen. What happens if you guys get in a bad pinch, or you know, maybe you trigger a trap, or you get jumped in a dungeon and you're way out of your depth or whatever, and you almost die, or you or not die, but you take critical damage, right? Your hip protection's all gone, and you actually end up taking critical damage to your strength. You don't want to risk that chance of going down, because every time you take critical damage, you have to make a strength save after you adjust your strength that determines if you're still up and fighting. So this might mean the difference between TPK or not, right? So for the 2 bonds that I rolled for Cobb, first one is number 5. You once freed a naiad from a choked stream. In return, it gave you some silver moss, which is a petty item. Swallow it near water, and the creature will come once to repay its debt. Again, awesome. Open-ended, compelling story hook. Gives you so much stuff that you can build around it. And, you know, as a warden, you could make this really sinister. You could make this really nice. I mean, there's a lot that you could do with it. So cool. Second one I rolled was number 20. One of your ancestors wronged a moss witch who cursed their bloodline. Your visage causes mirrors to shatter. You've noticed that the shards can sometimes reveal illusions. So this is kind of one of my favorite bonds, because I just love the idea of your face just causes mirrors to shatter, and then you also have that cool story hook of, you know, your ancestors wronged a moss witch. Maybe you're going to go on a quest to find this moss witch and like try to get uncursified or whatever, right? And also you've noticed the shards can sometimes reveal illusions. What does that mean? How often is sometimes? Are there things that trigger that when that happen? Are there certain conditions that have to be present for that to take effect? What do the illusions portend? Like, do they show future? Do they show the past? Or they just show like random stuff that's on your mind? Like you're tripping balls in a desert having mirage illusions or whatever? Who knows, right? So that's, again, a lot of fun things that you can do with that. So super cool. I like that. So let's take a look at Cobb's character sheet here. Now, poor Cobb, I did not roll great on his stats, but let's take a look at his traits. So these are what I rolled. The more I look at this, the more I'm pretty sure I rolled these traits. So he's got a towering physique. He's got birthmarked skin, braided hair, chiseled face, blunt speech, frayed clothing. His virtue is that he's courageous, and his vice is that he's rude. So just those details. Again, I love the traits in Cairn because they're simple, and they give you just that simple nudge to just be able to generate ideas, to have inspiration, to be able to role play your character. Like just the random nature of how you typically make characters in Cairn also makes it so you'd probably end up making a character that you wouldn't actually make if you had purposefully made them. So it's really cool to just find out that, you know what, I can role play this character that I probably wouldn't have made, like if I had just picked everything out myself. But also, you might find that, you know what, this is actually pretty damn cool. I'm so glad I made this this character. And I feel like that Cobb is kind of exemplifies that. Because on paper, I probably wouldn't make Cobb because he's got low stats, you know. Blunt speech can be kind of hard to role play, and you know, I have a hard time trying to be rude to people, so having to role play that vice might be kind of difficult. But maybe I can leverage those other traits like courageous and you know, so I don't know. Yeah, kind of fun. So let's talk about his stats. So I rolled pretty low stats. He's got just above average strength. He's got below average dexterity and below average willpower. But I did roll high on the hit protection, so he's got 5 hit protection to start out with, which is pretty nice. Again, this game is not all about combat, but when it comes down to it, having some hit protection is real nice to have. So he's got his silver moss under petty items. Let's take a look at his inventory here. So he's got, again, standard stuff, rations, torch. He's got the brigandine, sling, and hand axe that he's issued. He also chose, or I also chose insect repellent for him. And he's got that diseased crop, which has 6 uses, and he's got the Everbloom band. Maybe I shouldn't have moved those like so close together in the bag there in the inventory. I should have like put the Everbloom band up top or something. I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, and the notes just go through what we already discussed, right? So Cobb is, again, like, and keeping in line with the Fieldwarden, even though he's got kind of lower stats, he still has enough of those, just that good open-ended, intriguing story hooks that just allow you to build upon. I still think he's a good, safe character to play. You know, he's got that good starting kit from the Fieldwarden, you know, having a sling and armor and a hand axe. So you've got melee and ranged options, and you've also got armor for just in case combat gets down to it. But then you've also got diseased crop. So being able to, I don't know, maybe you're exploring some dungeon within the roots, and or, well, probably not starting out, but who knows. But maybe you're in the woods and you're in this dungeon, and you know, maybe there's like some vines or something that's blocking the way. You bust out that diseased crop and pop that pig on there. Next thing you know, it starts withering and decaying away. And then next thing you know, passage clear. You can get there and get the sweet treasure chest. I don't know. Right? There's all sorts of cool things that you can do with that. You can also do things for, like, if you want to play, I don't know, like a sinister character, right? You can mess up other Fieldwarden's crops or something, you know. Maybe you're the reason why on that first table something got the better of you. Maybe Cobb rolled along with his stupid diseased crop and just ruined your life. I don't know. So again, I like. Also, he rolled 16 gold, which is like pretty damn high for starting gold. So he's got some little funds to play around with, which is nice. Anyway, that's Cobb. You know, he's a well open-ended character. Again, these aren't classes. They don't determine like, oh, my character is going to do this, so I am a character that can wield an axe and a sling. I can be melee or ranged, and no, it's just this is what you start with. This is your building point. Where you go from here, it doesn't matter. You can be whoever you want to be, right? So if you want to be the most courageous and selfless person ever, maybe you might end up, you know, through axe, through forced, like not forced, but through role play, you might overcome these challenges that Cobb has, and maybe he might be able to try to be less rude. He might try to be a better person, and maybe he might, you know, work on his blunt speech, so he's trying to be less rude, right? So maybe these traits may end up changing or evolving over time, which is another exciting thing that I love about the Cairn system. So that's Cobb. Anyway, Cobb, again, pretty good, safe character, lots of cool stuff that you can build off of, and yeah, he's pretty dope. So let's talk about the last character, and this one is probably, I would say, the more exotic of the Fieldwardens. So you can see, look, she's got a whip that's going on here, and she's like pretty scrawny. So let's talk about what makes Thresh Thresh. So the first thing is, for the first table, what got the better of you? Option 5, wolves, or so you thought. You are now a werewolf, which means you have 8 hit protection, 15 strength, 14 dexterity. You have, when you attack, you can either do 2 claws, roll 2d6 and pick the highest one of those, or you can bite and just roll a 1d8. Your willpower remains the same when you're transformed. You can turn at will once per day, but you must make a will save to revert. Anyone left alive from your attacks must make a willpower save to avoid infection. So holy balls, just Thresh, imagine you guys are in deep shit, right? And stuff is just going wrong. And Thresh is like, you know what? Time to open up a can of whoop ass. And next thing you know, she goes into a big old werewolf and just starts shredding people. Like, look at those stats. 8 hit protection, 15 strength, 14 dex, and she can do 2d6 or d8 damage. I mean, maybe there's nothing here saying that you can't use a weapon, so I don't know, maybe she might grab like a sword or something like that and do a d8. I don't know. Who knows? So, I mean, it's nuts. But you can just do that with your claws. Now, not only is this just exciting from just a pure like min-max like combat perspective, but roleplay perspective too. Because again, you have to make a willpower save to revert. So what happens if you fail your willpower save? You don't just get to roll another one immediately, do you? Maybe you start attacking your friends. Maybe all of a sudden now you're this savior of combat. Maybe now you are a double-edged sword, and all of a sudden you're about to be responsible for a TPK. Or I guess not TPK, but what would it be? Double EPK? Everyone else in the party kill? I don't know. So that's an intriguing concept that can go many ways depending on how the warden wants to rule that one. Wow. So then as a player, you've got this decision, like, you know, do I want to turn into a werewolf to just do this combat encounter, but what happens if I can't shift back? And it says you can turn at will once per day. But maybe there are other factors that make it so you don't have a choice. Like, I don't know, full moon would be an obvious one. I don't know. Lots of cool things that you could do with that. I think that is just like a wrecking ball in more ways than one. Like, you could be just let's just toss Thresh into this dungeon and just have her just kill everything, and then, like, you know, hope that she's able to regain consciousness. Or else we're gonna bar this door and hope that she can just regain herself by the next day or whatever. I'm not sure what that would be. So if you fail your will save, is it like you have to make another will save every time you do another action, like you're gonna attack one of your friends or whatever, or are you just feral until, like, a certain time period? Like, you just have to, like, sleep it off or whatever. I have no idea. So that's exciting. So, bam, werewolf. That's nuts. That is insane. So that's obviously the most exotic option I found with the Fieldwarden so far, but super cool. So, tone it down a little bit. What tool saved your life? Thresh has the Bloodvine Whip. D8 damage. On critical damage, it drains the target's blood, granting the weapon's next attack the blast quality. So already you're probably thinking that, holy balls, Thresh is a combat powerhouse. She's a combat wombat. It's nuts. D8 damage, so does more than your hand axe does. As a warden, I'd probably rule that it has, like, a little longer range than, like, your little hand axe, your little hatchet. So, you know, you could be hiding behind your buddies, just whipping fools with it, right? I don't know. It could be kind of cool. And on top of that, when you deal critical damage, it drains the target's blood, granting the weapon's next attack the blast quality. Now, if you deal critical damage, you could potentially, like, do blast damage to a lot of other to whoever is around you. So that could be, again, double-edged sword. So I think that Thresh is just a ticking time bomb, man. She could be your savior, or she could be the thing that kills the entire party. So that's exciting. So let's talk about what bonds I rolled for her. I just rolled 3 and 4. So 3, the first one here. You carry a hand-drawn portrait, a petty item, of a past love who disappeared into the woods long ago. Somehow you know that they are still alive. So, again, that's just a pretty damn good story hook that's, just got lots of it's a powerful story hook. Like, oh, there's a past love who disappeared. As a character, you get to make, like, whoever that love was, and then maybe you're going in the woods to find them. Maybe that's your goal. So you have this story hook of why you're no longer a Fieldwarden, right? Because you got ate up by wolves, and now you're trying to find your love, and you're trying not to be this beast, right? Who knows, right? So, and the next one, bond number 4, you find a tiny crystal prism, again, another petty item, buried in the dirt. When held up to the light, it shows visions of an unknown location deep within the woods. Sometimes you feel a presence looking back at you. So this is again, another mysterious, open-ended, compelling story hook. And it occurred to me that maybe, like, these two can be combined. Like, maybe your past love who disappeared in the woods is probably trapped in there. And maybe that person who's looking back at you is them. Do they miss you? Do they still long for you? Or do they resent you for never coming to save them? Oh my God. Mind blown, right? There's all sorts of things that you could do with that. So, again, 2 very compelling bonds that just give you an open-ended thing that you can make your own. I love it. Fantastic. Let's talk about Thresh's stats. So, first, let's talk about her traits. She has a lanky physique, weathered skin, she's got frizzy hair, sharp face, stuttering speech, rancid clothing. She's merciful is her virtue, and then she's aggressive as her vice. And I think I'm pretty sure I didn't roll her traits for this, because, like, once I got the werewolf, I was like, oh, we're going all in, baby. So I think all these are, like, werewolf traits, right? Frizzy hair, sharp face, rancid clothing, and then being super aggressive as a vice. So maybe when she loses control, again, that just feeds right into it, man. So her stats, I gave her low strength, because these are the ones I rolled, and I figure, like, if she needs something that needs strength, she could probably just go beast mode, right? Now that might be a min-max way of thinking about it, but she's also it also ties into her lanky physique and her stuttering speech. So she's very scrappy, right? So she doesn't have high strength. She's got well below average strength. She has above average dexterity, and I figure that in order to make this character probably playable without being a total murderer, give her high willpower, because it sounds like she's probably going to need it, right? And then I rolled pretty good for hit protection. She starts out with 4 hit protection. She also starts out with 10 gold. And again, she's got the standard stuff, rations towards Brigadine, sling, hand axe. For her repellent, I chose canine repellent. I don't know if we had to specify like a particular breed of canine. Like, do I have to specify wolves or werewolves? I don't know. I just picked canine. And then she's got that bloodvine whip. So, again, I'm just thinking Thresh is basically God of War. Like, she can just wreck shop, and it's fantastic. So, having that werewolf background is exciting. This is obviously the character that I would play. I was like, yes, I want to be a werewolf, because with great power comes great responsibility, and just being able to potentially, you know, be the cause of a party wipe is both an exciting, it's an exciting and scary prospect. So anyway, that's Thresh. I think she's cool. I haven't made like a little werewolf form for her in Hero Forge or whatever, but yeah. So that's just those are 3 different characters with that have the Fieldwarden background. And so you see they all kind of start in a similar way. They're equipped in a very similar manner, but I think they're all very different. And so what are your thoughts? What did you think of this Fieldwarden background? Is this something that you would play? Let me know your thoughts, and I'm gonna probably get to work on making some more of these, because, you know, 2nd edition's coming. The Kickstarter is now live right now as of recording. This is April 4th, 2024. And the Kickstarter is already fully funded. But we're hitting those stretch goals, baby. So I think right now it's going to come with 3 players' hand guides with every box, which is cool. I'm excited about that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you in whatever video I make next.